Hey, this is Dr. Pete. Just wanted to do a video on feedback, like when a professor gives feedback on an assignment. And it's interesting is I got a number of videos or emails over the break about how the feedback and every professor gives different feedback. I think that's okay because if you get different perspectives, like say in writing, phone calls, videos, metrics, or rubrics, some people call them, these are all different ways to give feedback, and you need to be able to look at it and understand what they're saying. You can always email for clarity and things like that. But having said that, most professors will give written feedback. Hey, by the way, here's your grade and here's a rubric, or I'm not really big on rubrics, but it just gives people a sense that they got an objective grade, even though it's very subjective how they got there. But it makes people feel good. I think that's what's important. I had a dean once say that that actually helps to reduce student complaints because they feel it's objective. That's fine. It doesn't matter. But really, what's important to a student is the feedback, be it video, written, or whatever, verbal. It doesn't matter how. But how do I get better? Look, these are things you did good. These are things you need to work on. And again, that goes back to that video about criticism. And people really don't like criticism. They don't like negative criticism. They like positive constructive feedback. They don't like negative constructive feedback. So but one thing that really can kind of torque somebody is when a professor or anybody gives feedback, like I do videos and they take a lot more time. And when you give this video feedback, and I can check it, it's YouTube. I can check if you watched it or someone watched it, I mean, why would you not look at the feedback and say, okay, I understand. I watched the video. I need more clarity here, or I understand this comment, but I don't understand that one. But when you don't watch the video and I can see that, or the written feedback, which you're not specifically talking about, which means you didn't read it, why would you come to the professor and say, well, I got a bad grade. I don't understand why. Did you read or watch the feedback? Well, no. Well, then go read or watch the feedback, because then you're stuck in a position where you got to then watch and read it and say, "Oh, I still don't understand it," because you don't want to look foolish and you don't want to look like you didn't actually read the feedback. So now you got to start making stuff up. That's typically a response. Some students actually will say, "Oh, well, I made a mistake. I didn't think about that. Let me go read it," and then they move on. Other ones have to double down and go, I still don't understand, and I don't like your feedback, and I don't like, well, that's not that you really don't like the feedback, you just don't like what's in the feedback. And then when you make a complaint, then there's the idea is you're going to back a professor off, and some adjuncts will, because if they get a complaint, they won't get jobs, and that's an administrator problem. Administrators have to sit there and stand up to that and say, no, that this professor gave the feedback, you're just making a false complaint, and then delete it, and then tell the professor we deleted it, it's not in your file, we don't look bad at it, and back the professor up. This happens with plagiarism too. Some schools back up professors on plagiarism, others do not. So once a school does not back a professor up on plagiarism, meaning you can hammer a student for cheating, plagiarism, whatever, academic dishonesty, if that gets back and they are allowed to get feedback that damages their prospects of job employment, the professors will simply start giving good, they will not look for plagiarism, and they will not give negative feedback. Everyone will get A's and B's, and that's how it works. So when looking at this, the feedback may be something that you don't like. You may not particularly agree with it. Maybe the professor's different. You can give all that feedback. I had this professor, they gave this feedback. I don't particularly like it. I didn't like what they did. That's a legitimate feedback with specific examples. But having said that, just because you don't like the feedback, then that's a problem too. How many students have actually read the comments or watched the videos on when they get an A? And I can tell you from the videos I use, very few. But the minute they drop down to a C, all of a sudden they're watching the videos. And then they go, well, I didn't know that, or this professor did this and that. It doesn't matter. That's what that professor's saying. This is what needs to be done. Just because some professors may look at job security more than others, and they want to give good feedback, and I call it rainbows. I won't use the whole thing because it's a little more graphic, but basically unicorns, and it deals with butterflies and rainbows coming out of it, the unicorn. The key is that some professors are more diligent, some are more secure, and they're going to give you that quality feedback. Others may not be that way. They may let you slide on things. But when you don't look at the feedback, then you can't get better. Even if you're just getting better for that class, you're not going to get better. So look at it from that perspective. If you knew everything and could write and was an expert on everything, why get a degree? You know, why go through the motions? So the idea is to learn and grow, and part of that might be just learning to deal with other people that have different opinions. But again, if you don't read the feedback or watch the feedback, then it's very frustrating for the people who give it because they've taken a lot of time to do it. And when you don't respect them on that level, then it's really hard to make a complaint, or it's really hard to take your complaint seriously because you didn't read the feedback. So that's just a video on that. I appreciate the topic. It came up this morning after the break, but I want to say I have a lot of students that really do watch the feedback, and it's very impressive to watch them improve. And I just want to say thank you to them as well. So thank you, and any other topics, always feel free to drop me a line. Thanks.